So, we've got a new government. Keir Starmer's recent victory in the general election, alongside their strong majority, means that Labour have no excuse to push the heat pump and the renewable energy market forward. While the number of heat pump installations are slowly growing, there's still a lot of work to do. The latest studies indicate that heating the UK's 28 million homes accounts for 18% of our greenhouse gas emissions. And yes, there was a slight increase in installs last year following an increase of incentives, but this seems to have stagnated a bit this year, not in keeping with a market that's meant to be booming. On top of this, according to a recent survey on YouGov, less than a quarter of MPs believe that the government is providing enough support required to hit the 600,000 heat pump installations by 2028, like we've been promised. So, what can Labour do to promote heat pumps? Is it as simple as throwing money at the problem, or are there some more larger scale changes that need to be made? This video will outline 3 key ways that the government can drive the heat pump market forward. So let's talk about the first thing that the government needs to look at: financial barriers. The problem with heat pumps has always been the cost. A typical heat pump installation can cost between £13,000 to £17,000. An equivalent gas boiler installation can cost between £2,000 to £4,000. Despite slight improvements in heat pump technology and efficiencies, the majority of the cost tied into the installation is parts, labour and pipework. 3 things which aren't supposed to go down in price. The uncomfortable truth is that heat pumps are a complicated engineering job, one that takes a lot of time and investment. The government should then look to reduce these financial burdens by increasing the incentives available. The current incentive is called the Boiler Upgrade Scheme and offers £7,500 off the installation of a heat pump. We recently did a video about this a couple months back, which you can find. I'll leave it in the video description below. If Labour do want to promote the heat pump market, one of the most effective ways to do so would be to increase the Boiler Upgrade Scheme from £7,500 to £10,000. This would bring the cost of a heat pump pretty much in line with a gas boiler, especially considering the boost the heat pump market had last autumn, following the increase of the Boiler Upgrade Scheme from £5,000 to £7,500. Additionally, zero interest-free loans and tax breaks could be looked at for commercial projects to push the renewable energy market in the commercial sector. Another financial barrier are the running costs of a heat pump. A typical heat pump is 4 to 5 times more efficient than a traditional gas boiler. This means that on average throughout the year, a heat pump will use 4 to 5 times less in kilowatt hours of electricity than a gas boiler would of gas. However, gas is around 3 times cheaper than electricity, so the cost difference is marginal and doesn't reflect the performance advantage that the heat pump has. The fact that electricity is so much more expensive than gas is also quite surprising, considering that around 2/3 of the electricity produced in the UK is from cheap ways like solar and wind. As the grid continues to decarbonise, meaning more and more renewable energy is pushed in, Labour should focus on passing on these savings to homeowners. They can also continue to promote heat pump friendly tariffs, where electricity providers offer cheaper rates for homeowners that have heat pumps. This is already being done with the collaboration of OVO and Valent. Another issue that the Labour government need to address are the planning restrictions. Simplifying permitted development rights is one of the easiest ways that the Labour government can promote heat pumps in the UK. A large amount of installations are classed as permitted development, meaning that you don't have to apply for planning permission. However, some rules mean that planning permission is necessary. This often puts homeowners off the idea of getting a heat pump, as going through planning permission can be time-consuming and expensive. If you want your heat pump to be classed as permitted development and avoid planning permission, you need to make sure that your heat pump is further than 1 metre away from the property boundary and the volume of the heat pump can't exceed 0.6 cubic metres. As noise pollution seems to be the main concern of neighbouring properties, trivial rules like this should be scrapped and replaced with a more robust noise assessment. Furthermore, heat pump rules for conservation areas and historic buildings should also be simplified to try and ease the process, as everyone needs to transfer into renewable friendly heating. The final thing that the Labour government needs to address is the grid infrastructure. As more and more electricity is flowing through the grid, A main concern is whether the infrastructure is capable. Making improvements will cost billions of pounds, and a faulty grid will lead to long power cuts, leaving people without heating and hot water. The government should therefore look to slowly invest in grid infrastructure, but also find creative ways to reduce the demand during on-peak times. One of the best ways to do this is to decentralise the energy supplies throughout homes, where homeowners store the electricity and use that for lighting, heating and hot water. You can do this through thermal ward stores or battery storage systems. The government can look to continue to incentivise this by encouraging electricity supplies to keep on reducing their off-peak rates. There you have it. There are a few ways that we think you can push the heat pump market forward. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share and subscribe, and leave any questions that you have in the comments below. Keir Starmer, I hope you enjoyed it.